Hi, everybody. My name is Lisa Brarely, and this is my husband, Scott Brarely, beside me. And welcome to Soulmates and Suitcases. We have an amazing guest today who has quite the story, and want to be able to share his story because I think there are many people in the world who probably not in a quite similar prediction, however, with lots of struggles, find themselves stuck, looking for somewhere to turn and a way to shift. And we're excited to have Christopher Willars on with us today. Welcome, Christopher.
Well, thank you. You're like the first person to ever say my name right the first time, my last name.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had given up on humanity, or but thank you for having me too.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. You just came off a long flight, so well, you got your
Yeah.
coffee in hand, and I think we're ready to go. Yeah.
Ready to
Well,
roll.
tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought on the journey and the transformation, and we'll kind of pop in questions and
We'll
have a
go from
chat.
there.
Man, I would say presently, uh, like I said, I'm Chris Willers. I'm an advocate, and at times, depending upon the situation, I could be deemed an activist as well. Um, I'm the founder of the Life Unit Inc., an organization that does work nationally, a 501(c)(3), primarily in the mental health field. I'm a certified peer specialist in mental health as well as a forensic peer for the state of Georgia. I've opened a school, been honored as Principal of the Year out here in Tucker, Georgia. And man, before all of this, on top of being able to tell my story and reach over 100 million people every single month, in 2003, I was sentenced to 144 years in prison. So I'm not really even supposed to be here to be able to have this conversation, and I definitely wasn't supposed to be here to do any of the other things that I did. So, yeah, yeah,
Mm.
That's almost unfathomable how your brain would even be able to cope with, or your mind would be able to cope with that. Like that's would take a lot of
yeah,
courage.
yeah. I think the root of it all for me was I never felt like I belonged in prison. So I
Mm.
think inside my mind, I was always working, and while I was in prison, I was always working, and I was always working on myself. I was working on paper. I was doing different things, so I was always fighting forward. And then prior to being incarcerated, I was a veteran, United States Air Force. So come from a military family, and we're fighters, just old school, blue collar. And I don't know, I just think that was always a part of me and still is. So it helped me get through some really, really tough moments for sure. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at all, but I just kept my feet moving.
Mm. Now, Christopher, I don't know if you want to go into any details, but like where were you in your life that you landed in this with this huge sentence in jail?
Yeah. Um, I always say, especially when I get a chance to speak to parents or parents ever hear this part of the story, in my life, I was a good teenager. I was getting in a little bit of trouble. Like I get in a couple fight, like stuff boys and teenagers, get into, but never got into any type of trouble where I was sitting in a cell or anything like that. I ended up enlisting in the Air Force at 17. I only stayed in for about 2 years, a little bit less than 2 years because I was good on base. Like I was good at my job, good at showing up every day, performing tasks, but off base, like I was just mentioning, I got into a few physical altercations and, my conduct off base, it wasn't reflective of the uniform. So they went ahead and gave me a general discharge. And at 19, I got a general discharge out of the military, had to move to Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia. I'm born and raised in Chicago, but while I was in the military, my mother had moved to Virginia. And at this time, my parents had split up. Um, a lot of parents do, but it was either go with her or go with my dad in Texas. And he didn't really have the right, setup for me to go out there. So I went out to the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I think at that time I was angry because I messed up my opportunity in the military. I went from having my own spot, some type of independence that I wasn't really ready for. to now I'm back living with my mother, but on top of that, we're living with my grandmother. My cousin and me share a room. Like it's just the complete opposite. So uh, I was what a lot of teenagers are, sad, depressed, going through these emotions they don't necessarily know how to process. And then I'd say about 2 months of being out there, one night, my cousin ended up getting his own apartment and called me over there. And a couple of his buddies were over there and they were drinking. And I sat down with them. I had a drink too. And about maybe 10 minutes into us, all sitting there chopping it up, he had walked back into, his bedroom or whatever, and then walked out and he sat like a revolver or a gun on the table. And I looked at him, immediately because he's my cousin. I'm like, yo, what's that for, cousin? He was like, man, I need you to take me up the street, me and my friends. So at the time, initially, I'm like, nah. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. You crazy. You tripping. Like, what are you talking about? Let's just keep drinking, playing the game, whatever. So maybe 5 minutes goes by and he's like, well, it's not a real gun. It's a BB gun. And I looked at it and, this time more closely and it was a BB gun. So I really thought he was joking then. Like, it was like, it's a BB gun. Like, we're not going to go, you're not going to run into a spot and stick it up with a BB gun. And he just starts going in. And I'd say probably about 5 minutes later, after that part, I just got frustrated. And I remember, his homeboys, because I was the youngest one, everybody was all about like 10 years older and plus. And they're all, just talking trash. Like, come on, man, you ain't even got to get out the truck. Just take us up here. Da da da. And I folded. I made the decision. I don't blame them. I could have walked out of there or, did whatever. But I think at that time, I just wanted to shut them up. Let's just get it over with. It's a BB gun. What's the worst that could happen? Nobody's gonna get hurt. I'm running down this list in my head. We get in the truck, and I remember it's an October. It's cold. It's dark. It's rainy, and I don't even know where we're going. He's just telling me go left, right. Like I'm driving in the blind. We get there. He tells me where to park, and next thing I know, it happens so fast. It feels like, but it tells me where to park, and they run out. And I'm sitting in the truck, and I knew I didn't want to be there. Like I knew this wasn't who I was. I thought about leaving him, but it was my cousin, so I didn't want to leave the homeboy, the other people. I probably wouldn't have cared, but my cousin, I was like, I can't do that. And I'm going back and forth in my head, but I'm realizing it's too late now. Like whatever happens, it's too late. And probably probably only lasted like 3 minutes of me sitting in the truck, something like that, before they opened up the truck door. My cousin's jumping in, money's falling. The other two guys are jumping in the back of the truck. One of them saying he dropped his bandana, that he was wearing. And I'm driving off in the dark. And I knew it was going to end up bad. I'm trying to justify things. Like I didn't understand like investigations and stuff, but I understood fingerprints. So as I'm driving away, I'm like, okay, maybe the rain washed away the fingerprints from the money that fell on the ground, or I'm trying to, the bandana blew away, and they found all those things immediately. Yeah, I would find out, but drove away, um, dropped them all off at his spot, went back to my grandma's that night, and sat in that bedroom just wide awake all night. Like anything that moved, I thought the police were coming for us. And that was just the start of it all. Everything that would be bad for the next almost like 18, 19 years.
At that point right there, did you feel you could turn to anyone?
No, my my parents they never brought me up, in any type of like street. Like some kids, they're brought up, their dad's in the streets. My dad went to work every day. My mom didn't even cuss, like he didn't even drink. So there was a place where I knew nobody would understand, and no matter what, it was too late. So all I was doing at that time, because I felt like I was definitely gonna get locked up, I was just hoping we got away. And maybe for about 2 weeks, it felt like we did. I didn't sleep much. I remember drinking more. Remember going to get like at the time they used to sell Tylenol threes with codeine like right in the stores, which was crazy. Getting those just so I could go to sleep at night. And then probably about 2 weeks later or whatever, I get a call from my cousin and he's like, "Yo, you got to come over here now." And I just knew the way he said it, I was like, man, like this is it. And I pulled up to a spot and he's basically, I could see something's wrong visibly. And he's like, man, the police were here. He's like, and homeboys ran. And he's breaking down the situation where essentially, and this part is important too, like if like anybody that's committed any crimes, like you don't know how you'll get caught up. But basically, one day that day or whatnot, they're playing loud music at his apartment. They're smoking, they're doing whatever they're doing on the inside, and it's him, his homeboy's child mother, and they have a baby there. So some neighbors are walking upstairs and to their apartment to bring groceries. They hear the loud music, they smell weed smoke, whatever it is. They're concerned. They call the police saying, "Hey, there's a kid downstairs. It smells. Police come to his apartment. He thinks it's one of us. He just opens the door. Police smell the smoke. They make a few calls. It gives them reason to enter, the dwelling, his apartment. They go in there. Of course, they weren't being responsible around the child. Child was good though, but they searched the apartment and they didn't find anything, crazy. I think they found like a joint or something in there, but what they did find was the blue money bag from the crime that night. And I'm 42 years old now, and I've been around a whole bunch of stuff, and I work now, depending upon the situation, I'll collaborate with law enforcement, prosecutors, trying to get people off and, not have to go to prison. And I think the way I got caught was probably like the craziest ever, like, because I'll never understand to this day why they hung on to the money bag, you know, and I never asked them because, you know, but the detectives found, or the police found it. They brought it with them. Of course, nobody was arrested or anything that night or that day, but his homeboys ran immediately. They were scared. And he was basically telling me, like, he's about to take off too, and you should be okay because you was in a truck. Nobody saw you but us. You're good. And then I tried to believe that. Um, and it got quiet. Like, it got really quiet for a few weeks. And then Christmas Eve, like, I was still paranoid. But I hadn't heard from anybody, so I just figured like it was okay. And how would they know I was involved? Those guys aren't going to say anything about me. So on Christmas Eve, I'm at my grandma's house. My grandma's this like old school black woman, like she just old school, like, and I don't mean no harm in this shit, but like she make like white people walk to the back of the house, like she one of them like mean, rest in peace. And I'm sitting there in her living room, and all of a sudden I hear a knock on the door, and I look. And I see two white guys in suits and trench coats and all. And again, I'm not familiar with law enforcement, but I know what we did. They don't look like UPS workers or whatever. And I open the door. My grandmother's in the back hollering, "Who is that?" fussing at me. And right when I open the door, one of the guys holds up a picture of my cousin. And my cousin had tried to rob another place with the BB gun, and the restaurant workers they could see it was the BB. Something happened, and they beat him and they hogtied him. And the detectives took pictures when they got there, and he brought them to me. And he was basically saying to me, he's like, "You're next." He's like, "Hopefully you don't go like this." He's like, "Matter of fact, when you run, go somewhere warm so when we get you, we can go on vacation." And when he made that statement, they both walked off. Like that was it. Like there was no, you're under arrest. We're gonna come back and get you tomorrow. Those mind games. I closed the door. My grandma was like, "Who was that?" And I was like, "Nobody," because I just wanted to be normal or try to be normal for the holidays. And I tried, but I remember that Christmas Eve, family had came over, and like that night, I had some really dark thoughts. I don't know, I just didn't want to face prison. I didn't want to go to jail. Like my mind started to race, and I pushed through, but for about a month and a half, it was mind games with the detectives. Um, I knew I wasn't gonna run, but I'd be at work and I worked at a place where you change oil. I'd look out the bay. They'd be parked in the dry or in the parking lot, where my girlfriend at the time worked. She called me and, they're out front, harassing. They came through the drive-through, talking trash to her. And it was just mind games. And then February 12th, 2003, came home to my grandmother's house and she was just screaming. She was like, "What did you do? What did you do? What's going on? The detectives, the police were here looking for you." They ran through the house and my mom was there too. And I just looked at my mom. I was like, "I got to go to the police station. I got to turn myself in." And, my mom, again, she knows nothing about any of this stuff. And even though I got in trouble in the military, I'm still with my family. I'm still kind of like the golden child or whatever. Like, they like, all right, he got in trouble in the military, but he's gonna be fine. He was 19. He's smart, da da da. But my mom was shaking. She was crying. She was like, "What's going on?" And I didn't really want to tell her because I'm still hoping when we get there, I can go in and say something. They'll let me. I don't know, right? And we get to the police station, walk in there, and before I can even say anything, detectives came out. They're smiling, threw cuffs on me. My mother starts screaming, and that was it. That was the end of freedom right there. Um,
How long did they take them to that point from the offense? Like,
So it happened in October, and then February 12th altogether
oh,
was the day
okay.
I got locked. Yeah. The other two guys, the that ran, they got locked up first. I'd find out later. They got arrested down in Florida for loitering. They didn't have anywhere to go. They were just on a run and fell asleep outside of a Walmart or something like that, some type of store, and the police busted them. They already had warrants out for them. They had been indicted by the grand jury, and when they got arrested, they were the ones that testified essentially on my cousin, myself, started to, put that. So that's how they knew about me. And yeah, yeah.
So I know you, Christopher, you've gone on to help a lot of other people. What
hmm
what have you personally done to help yourself through this? Because I can hear it in your voice, like the retelling and recalling. It's like it was almost yesterday. Very,
Yeah,
it is very clear
yeah,
story.
yeah. Well, the first 2 years that I came home, I suffered bad. Suffered like a lot of people do that come home from incarceration. I'm a storyteller too, which maybe sounds why it was like yesterday. Tomorrow I'll be going in front the committee hearing for the state of Vermont to testify for an hour straight about the impact of incarceration. Um, but I take pride in telling this part of the story because a lot of my brothers and sisters don't. And the numbers when it comes to suicide are increasing, especially for those that were impacted by incarceration and then veterans as well. So I'm part of both of those populations. But when you come home from prison, you're coming home essentially from a war zone. Not to compare our lifestyle to, a soldier going to war or whatnot, but you're exposed to consistent and constant trauma. While I was on the inside, I was on level 4 yards for over 9 years of my sentence on a prison that's now closed. It's really notorious, Sussex too. Over 3 years in solitary confinement. I went in as a kid that really never got into any type of trouble. To by my fourth year in, I was running a level 4 yard as a gang member or a gang leader. Um, Found myself getting involved in those politics and lost friends to suicide. I lost a buddy of mine that got murdered 2 days before I came home, or 2 days before he was scheduled to go home. Um, I just seen a whole lot of things in there, and then also losing loved ones, my grandmother, my younger brother, my father, things a lot of times we don't think about when we're running wild in the streets. When I came home, I was blessed. The truth of the matter is, I had a wife because we got married in the visitation room before I came home, and um, she believed in me enough to take that chance, and we're, still married, going on 7 years now. I had cousin, uncle, mom, like I had support. I had a home, with a mortgage, unlike a lot of my brothers and sisters that are struggling, to find a place to live. I had a lot of those. I had a vehicle, but mentally I just wasn't well. The level of PTSD that I had. There's a video of me coming home, um, where I'm twitching in my face. Like I'm not smiling with my family. They're all happy. I'm just coming home from prison. You would probably think I would show some type of emotion, and I'm pretty much stone faced the whole way through because prison transforms most of us. Most of us. Some of us as men, when we go in there, it doesn't in certain ways. Some of us can figure out how to do our time, stay out the way, and we may suffer from different things. But some of us, it's like we sign up for all the high level trauma you can get in there, and I think I was one of those guys. So when I came home, and what I speak to nowadays a lot of times is you don't know how much trauma you were exposed to or what it did to you until after you're out of that environment. So for about 2 years, I would struggle mentally, depression, severe anxiety, social anxiety. I didn't know how to communicate with my wife properly. I was always speaking like, I don't even want to say assertive, at times aggressive, just because when you're in prison for 17 years talking to men, you're a gang leader, you're doing it, like you just speak a different way. There was just a lot of things going on. I was drinking, which definitely didn't help at all with anything that was going on. And it was just all bad. Christmas Eve, 2021, I was so tired, in my mind from racing thoughts and arguing with my wife and, hurting her, just doing certain things. And I was ready to call it quits. And, I wrote 2 letters out, and I don't know if I would have did it, but I know I was that tired. And it runs in my family. My grandfather and my little brother, they both took their life. Um, so it's not foreign to us. And I think I was, willing to, but God is good. And my mother called at the right time and got my attention. She knew something was wrong with her son, and um, I broke down and just finally like let it out. Probably let out when you asked that question about did I feel like I could have anybody to confide in all that time. I think I started to finally let go in that moment, stuff I wanted to say back then when I was scared and I knew I was getting in trouble, and went to my wife and told her, and what I needed and the help that I needed, and then I started this journey. It was started with therapy. I went and got something called neurotherapy, which changed my life because I was stuck in a high level amount of like stress holes or fight or flight, and stopped drinking, which was key, like extremely important for me. And man, just kept working one day at a time and still do. For me, it doesn't stop. Like I treat it, recovery isn't just like stopping drinking. For me, it's going to support groups, it's therapy, it's having my brothers that are accountable, vice versa. And that's it, and it's just a continuous process, but it works and I'm grateful. Now being home over 6 years finally, I can actually say I may not be 100% healed, but man, I'm like 90 something. I'm good. I'm in a good percentile, and it's right on time because I just became a dad for the first time like 3 months ago.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, almost 3 months to the day. So I'm
Wow.
glad I started finally working on me. Yeah.
Stuff that goes through our brains when we're living like that. I remember I went away the first time and I vowed I would never go back again. And
Hmm.
then the second time I went away,
Just a brief pause in the show. If you'd like to dive deeper into our work, our books are available on Amazon. You can also get instant electronic copies at payhip.com/Lisa Scott Brearley authors. Now, back to the show.
by the time I was getting out, I was looking around. You know how you acquire stuff to make your life a little more comfortable?
Yeah,
I was looking for a spot that I could stash it. So
yeah.
it'd be there when I got back, when I came back. Like that's insane.
It is, but I've seen brothers like that. I've seen brothers like that, and it's good that you brought that up because it shows what happens to us, when we're in that environment and how we're conditioned. And, prisons are supposed to be about rehabilitation, but they're not.
No,
Maybe one or two here. I've been fortunate to walk into some prisons and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. But 90+% more, it's just warehousing, it's destruction, it's turning you worse into better. And like for people that are saying, well, guys that are in prison, men and women, they should be punished anyways. You should want everybody to heal and be better mentally because we're returning home. The majority of us come home, so yeah, it's ongoing battle.
and if they would start spending some of that money that they spend in there for mental health and
Yeah,
that. However, though, I also know from my own experience, there's a lot of people in the work that aren't qualified to really be in the
yeah,
work. They help, like they scratch the surface when they're
yeah.
helping you, but that's about it. I found this amazing trauma therapist, and I found her completely by fluke.
Mm,
Was on a ride by myself because that's on a motorcycle. I was completely
hmm.
antisocial. I pull up to this gas station and there's a Starbucks there. I go into Starbucks, I see another bike, and I park on the other side of the parking lot. And this
Hmm.
guy comes up, this dorky guy that I wouldn't, hi, how you doing? I
The
end
one
up
you didn't want to talk
myself.
to.
Yeah, the
No,
one you
and
didn't
he
want to.
he knew I
Right.
didn't want to talk to him. He was there to help me. And
Yeah,
we ended up riding back together, and he's the one that introduced me to the drama therapist. It's like, how do
yeah,
you can't write that stuff? Like,
yeah, yeah. That's my experience with neurotherapy. I was just talking to somebody, having a random conversation in passing. They told me to look this place up in Detroit. And I went there and I got the treatment and it instantly it took me off the edge. It took me off the cliff but it
What
was
is
just
it? Yeah, can you
so
explain it? What?
yes, neurotherapy is well how I tell my brothers is it's $99 and it'll save your life. To me, it's not like a solution. So a buddy of mine, now he's a buddy. At first he was, I just went to to get help. But David, he created this place called Inception. Inception is like it focuses on mental health, just mental health fitness, and he created this thing called neurotherapy, where basically you go in there, individuals that are suffering from high levels of trauma that are stuck in fight or flight, and they just hook up suction cups to your head. You sit in a chair, nice quiet environment. You hear classical music, and you got something over your eyes, but as you're listening to the classical music, you'll hear it like skip beats, almost like a record player when the needle scratches. And every time it does that, it's basically dissecting a place in your brain where it's stuck in a trauma hold. So it sends a small electrical, pulse, the way that I'll explain it. That I'm not as educated as those guys, but and it lets your brain know, hey, you need to reset or come out of that stress hold. So a lot of people, when I've been fortunate enough to bring people there, they're crying. I cried my first session, but it's 30 minutes. You sit in a chair. You don't, if you're not somebody that wants to open up and talk right away. Like I said, it's not the solution, but if you're dealing with racing thoughts, that type of thing, it quiets them down. And the first time I went there, I was my mind had quieted so much. I was like, I wasn't thinking about anything but the moment. I was like, what's going on? Like, this is how it is to be normal. And once I seen that, that's what motivated me to, get into therapy and all those other things. So it was a good starting place for sure.
That almost sounds a little bit like EMDR.
Yeah, I think they definitely, yeah, similar.
It's
Yep.
similar because I know I did EMDR and I had paddles in my hand.
Yeah.
And
I've
you
never
would
done it, but yeah, that's what it reminds from what I read and a buddy of mine. I think it is in the same. Yeah.
What's really cool is nowadays there's so many different options, modalities, all these different things
Yeah.
you can test out and see what works for you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does depend on the intensity of the trauma sometimes, or
Yeah.
deep,
Yeah.
or even I one thing I've noticed is male versus female. So
Hmm.
someone who was doing a breathwork sort of program was a
Hmm.
male, and it was way too aggressive for my body. It was too much.
Yeah.
So you never know, right? Who you'll
Yeah.
align with, what will work for you. And you had mentioned like you kind of had your shift in 2021. That's what you had said, right? 2021 kind of
Yeah.
time. And I think like we're a little bit similar around that 2020, 2021. It was like light bulbs started coming on, and I think we discovered that we're always evolving. It's never kind of
Hmm.
a done deal healed journey. Yeah, the way I like to describe it is like you've healed to this point, and then maybe you've healed to this point, and then there's like
Hmm.
another point, and like, and you'll always continue
I agree with that.
to come up against challenges, whatever they are, the little demons from the past, or maybe a new relationship or a new person you meet that kind of triggers something in you that you
Hmm.
thought you fixed, you,
I
Yeah.
that you got solved. But yeah.
this year
Yeah.
I've had two occasions where I've caught myself. You talked about fight or flight.
Yeah.
Well, I spent
Hmm.
my whole life living in fight or flight, and I didn't realize
Yeah.
until I started doing the trauma work.
Yeah.
And I'm at my older brother's this summer, and we've had a challenging relationship for
Hmm.
several different reasons. And I'm at his house helping him with something, and we had a few words, and I go up for a nap later on in the day, and I'm laying there, and I'm gonna leave. But
Hmm.
I tell him my peace of mind, and I'm laying there, and all of a sudden it dawns on me, man, you're stuck in fight or flight mode right now. You don't
Yeah.
need to be here. Change the direction of your thoughts and
Yeah.
move somewhere, like move your brain somewhere else. And that's never happened. Like I'm 58
Right.
years old, and it's the first time it's ever happened in my life, realizing exactly what it was or where I was.
Yeah. Yeah. It's powerful when you're aware of your thoughts and that you can control them. It's a different life becomes a little bit different. And then the longer you walk in that knowing, the easier it becomes. But like you said, it happens in stages. That's why I say I don't feel like I'm all the way, but I had a moment where I felt myself, my heart racing a little bit and sweating. I was really passionate in a conversation about trauma-informed care, believe it or not. But dealing with somebody I felt like was being arrogant, and disregarding a certain type of treatment for people. And I'm about the people, and I was like, hold on, I was like, hold on, let me tone it down. But every now and then, maybe I have a moment. I'm like, okay, and I'm grateful that I'm aware, and I can catch myself. So
Well, I don't
Yeah.
think it will ever go away in us. It'll just dull
yeah,
and dull and dull. And however, the feeling, even though you do it that much compared to that much, I don't know about
yeah,
you, but all my feelings are the same. When
yeah.
I act
I'm
out,
aware. Yeah,
yeah, well,
Yes.
yep,
but then the feelings are the shame and stuff of for me of
yeah,
acting that way again. It's like, oh man, I wasn't gonna act that way. But it's like we had a I did some, can't even remember what it was. It was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And then Lisa kind of went, Scott, I don't appreciate when you do that. And it's like, babe, I understand what you're talking about.
all right,
3 years ago, this is how I would have reacted to that.
no
And
question.
I
Yeah.
hope in 2 years, I'll be able to react to the same situation,
Yeah,
even
Even different.
different than I
Yeah.
want. And I respect you, but I don't need you to kind of go eat when I do it. Because
yeah,
when I'm talking about it, And it's also about standing up for your true self too, not in
Yeah.
an aggressive way, but in
Yeah,
a way that you can help heal yourself
be heard.
Yeah.
and be heard.
Boundaries. Yeah. No, I'm in agreement. It's been a process. Me and my wife now, we're like that old couple that's been married for 50 years, but we've been through hell and back in a short time. But that was a big part of my mental health, what was going on in my mental health too. Like I kept running into that cycle. I'm arguing with her, arguing with her. My wife is my everything. I'm big on family. When I broke out of that cycle, it shifted things, but I was messed up in the head, man. Like I know it, and that's why I'm on this mission to just have these conversations with the men, the women, the juveniles before they get home, um, because I know how serious it is, and I'm fortunate, you know what I'm saying? I'm blessed, that she didn't go anywhere, or, different people in my life, stuck with me and seen that what I was going through wasn't me and that I could get through it. But I know I also had people that are like, okay, you need to snap out of this, at some point in time. And that was a part of the equation that helped me too. My brothers that helped me accountable and, made sure I started moving forward. So I'm grateful.
Exactly.
Right.
Now I'll say congratulations. You are an author as well. You wrote a book.
Yeah.
Got- oh, so yeah,
Yeah.
tell us about that and what or who inspired you, I guess, to get those out, get those published, and how are they going?
Yeah. So I dropped two books last year, and it's 144 Prison Pain and a Pathway to Freedom. Independent drop. Anybody that knows me, I fight for independence. My definition of freedom is probably extreme, but I try to keep everything within my team. So we came up with this idea of telling a story that I told on TikTok that did over 37 million views and just put it in the form of print. So that is now in book version, and it's just my journey of incarceration, all the things I went through in 17 years, expressed and explained, not just to like tell the prison story and definitely not to ever glorify that lifestyle, but to really help other people know the trauma that we face behind those walls. That book's doing really, really good. I was really excited about that, but people asked me recently in an interview if you had to choose between the two. Actually, the second book that I wrote is my favorite book, although I love 144. But the reason the second one is How to Stay Free. It's a guide to reentry success for you or your loved one. That's my favorite one because it's solutions. The first one talks about the trauma, and I'm grateful to help be a reflection of many people's voices. But this workbook, it's helping people build a foundation that are coming home from prison. Loved ones are getting it so they can understand what their loved ones need. And we're fortunate enough, we're starting to get it into different, facilities across the country, and we're able to teach things, and we're building this digital platform, How to Stay Free digital reentry community off of it. So those are the two things. Both of them are doing good, to be independent. And I released the one book, 144. Um, and essentially I was getting ready to start the book tour a week later. And 2 days before we were supposed to start the book tour, me and my wife moved into the hospital. And we lived in the hospital for about a month and a half. It was kind of had some scary moments, just making sure my son can get here and everything was all right and she was all right. So everything was on halt for that. Still released it, but I thank God for everybody that supported it without any real type of, promotion or anything like that. And it's been getting through. So I'm grateful. Yeah.
Mm. Any what's the word from anyone that it would be turned into a movie?
E- I can't say that. Yeah, I'm gonna
You
say
just
very, very
hit a fear button.
right. I gotta remember what I said. I'm gonna say very, very possible. I'm gonna say and I'm gonna say we're having conversations. That's what I'm gonna say. But not just there's conversations about my life being in the form of a movie, the book, but there's also talks for the OG Chronicles, which is like a micro drama I created on social media about a lifer that's imparting wisdom and going against the evil warden in there, but it's really reflective of the culture and the mindsets in prison. But it's really palatable to everybody. Almost like a sitcom that everybody's falling in love with that's done close to 200 million views. Um, and then there's also talk for a one-man show based on 144 and all that too. So we're working, and my heart's into anything that's creative, in those, creative healing, creative arts, anything in that space. Whatever we do, we just want to make sure, me and my team, that it's not just for entertainment. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think, it's definitely going to help people. Yeah.
With some mission and purpose
It,
behind it, right?
it's way
Yeah.
different being able to show up today, like how you can show up for your son today.
Yeah, yeah,
I've,
definitely. Yeah.
I've watched
Yeah.
a
It's way.
few people that have shifted. My one buddy, George, he ended up getting a girl pregnant in recovery. We were in recovery and she went out and stayed out and he raised his son. And George was this wild maniac, even though he was in recovery. And we're
Right.
standing at Starbucks one day and I'm like, George, I can't believe I'm about to say this. But when I was growing up, my dad was okay, but I wish he was like you because you're an amazing dad. And so he
Yeah.
didn't start crying.
Right. That's a heck of a compliment to give a guy.
Yeah,
You want to get him. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And it's because he
yeah,
showed up and he was doing stuff different. And
yeah. I uh I had a great father, great uncles, my sisters they're both 10 years older, so I had great brother-in-laws. They were both married, and I had that, and then I went through all the hell that I did, so I didn't allow it to destroy me. So I didn't expect to be a father. Me and my wife had went through several tragedies, and she talks about her age too. I'll just say we're both in our 40s, and it's just later, but January 23rd of last year, our whole house burned down, and it got, it got dark again. It got burned down. I was paralyzed on my left side, couldn't move my arm. We moved into an RV, but it was a lot going on. And then next thing I know, we had a baby on the way, and next thing I know, I found out it was going to be a son. At first, I was like, I wanted a daughter. I think but when I found out I had a son on the way, it's like my heart was just, I don't know, like I'm about to, I'm about to cry right now because
Yeah.
awesome.
that's my heart, man. Like I'm so glad I got a son, and it gives me a chance to just be there, and be his father and be present and just give him something, in a different way, so he's got options, and I'm just grateful, man. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Though it reminds me of, as a parent, I have a son and a daughter, and
Mhm.
that what was it, about 3, 4 years ago, realizing that the best way to show up for them was to take care of me. And
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
a big realization actually.
Yeah.
And look, you're setting that example now, right? Reaching out and supporting other people so they can see more for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Fighting too every day.
and it's
Yeah.
funny how many people even ask me, not, I'm saying this the wrong way, ask, like, what was the one big thing that made you change? And it's
Mhm.
like, it's not one big thing. It's, well, emotions
Mm.
Hmm.
is the one big thing, but it's all the little stuff that adds up that it's like, I don't want to live like this.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
building a life, the big part, I think, is building a life that's worth not burning to the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wake up every day, and I just thank God for it all, because people don't understand that part in my life, and I don't ever mean it. I give all the credit to God, but my wife's retired now, and our neighbors are goats, and I get to travel the country and help people. And I stay real humble, I only speak to certain things because I want people to know it's real, but I know that if you come home and you work hard on yourself, and you can really achieve things that are, above the ceiling of what people expect, and you can live a life and impact people and do things you would never expect. But most importantly, you can find peace within yourself, because without that, it's really hard to sustain anything you acquire, so Yeah, I wake up every day, man, and I walk around my house and I don't know, I just take it in because I remember sitting in that 6x9. I remember washing my clothes or whatever in the cell. I remember eating, ramen noodles every day and 17 years, a long time. And now it's hard for me. Like I have to remind myself I've been to prison sometimes, even though I talk about it every day. I don't feel like I've been there. Now I feel like I'm just talking about it. So it's been a transition for sure.
Yeah, it blows me away that how how what a big event that was in your life, and then
Mhm.
how you've shifted and are helping so many people. And so what does it look like for you in regards to supporting other people who are, can you explain who the people are exactly that you're helping?
Yeah, so my organization, Life Unit Inc., we focus on reentry, intervention, and recovery. So people that are coming home from prison, we want them to stay free. We provide digital meetings every single week, one-on-ones. We do referral. We have helplines in case they're going through crises because me and my team are certified to work in the mental health field. We provide all of those same things as well for the veteran population. They're just modified with the language and that we use in our facilitators because our organization is veteran owned. I got to remind myself, sometimes people are like, you're a veteran owned, you're a veteran, but um, we provide that. Um, we provide recovery groups every single Saturday just because that's near and dear. That's a project that me and my wife facilitate. I usually run my mouth for an hour with everyone, and then she stays on immediately after for the ladies. And they're starting to build something really powerful, in terms of community there. And then I'm going into prisons and jails and recovery centers and anywhere they'll allow me to go. If anybody sees this, my flights are free, so you don't have to worry about that. Just tell me where to be. So I've been on this campaign right now. Just came back from the third city of 8 scheduled in 20 days. I think we're headed to Dallas next. I gotta say thank because I don't even know where I'm supposed to be sometimes, but I got a great team. But we go into the prisons, we have conversations, and when you hear me say we, because I never want to take away from my team that makes everything possible. But it's mental health conversations, it's conversations about reentry, it's in your face conversations about addiction, relationships after prison, all of these things. And then we implement a learning curriculum, typically for 6 weeks, either revolving around emotional intelligence, conflict resolution, effective communication, but something we know that the men need or the women need prior to reentering society. So that's a lot of the ways. There's still a few other ways. We do a lot of community outreach work. We feed people. We're getting ready to start our breakfast program for the youth. Um, we just anything we can do.
It's amazing how life works when you start moving in the right direction. Like when
Yeah.
you were sitting in prison, there's probably not even a thought that one day you're going to be out on the street and you're going to, one, willingly go back to prison to help people.
No.
That prop,
Oh
like,
yeah. No, I was blessed because I ended up becoming this highly influential gang member. And I don't glorify that life. It's garbage. I tell them to their face, respectfully. Um, but the staff there seen that I had influence, and they also knew I had a level of intelligence. When I was in prison, I was going to college courses, and they were talking about me because I was getting a 4.0 GPA. I was always scholastically smart. And in the Air Force, you got to score the highest on the ASVAB. But it's just I was making bad decisions. There was a counselor in there that gave me a chance one day to be what they call an inmate advisor, and I got to start defending guys from their cases, and I was probably only like 26, 27, but she was like, you need to have this job because you're the only one that can read. And she was just talking trash. Guys can read, but she was like, you know how to talk. And she mentored me on how to do paperwork and learn the policy and stand up like the right way in there if I felt like something was wrong. So I was given this weird opportunity throughout the rest of my sentence where I went from there to being on what they call the inmate representative group. I was voted as the chair, where I got to represent the guys that were incarcerated. And then I was appointed by the state or the Commonwealth while I was incarcerated with a buddy of mine, Freddie Williams, is one of two senior elders in the state, which basically means we were the top mentors in the state for the reentry program. So I would work in the reentry program when I still had 6 years left, and I was bringing in
Oh,
resources with the guy. Yeah, so I was kind of, I don't want to use the word groomed, but there was a time where they thought I was going to come back and work for DOC. Is famous for rehiring people that were formerly incarcerated there. When you talked about mental health, they hire certified peer specialists like me to work in the prisons to bridge the gap between the regular, therapists. So I knew that I could be this person. I was told, officers they're like, you got to get on the internet, you got to the ability to speak. But my mental health was just jacked up. So I knew I had the talents, but mentally I didn't know if I could do any of these things. You know. Yeah.
I've heard you call it the Commonwealth. I've never heard that Virginia
Yeah.
Commonwealth ever. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, yeah. There's five Commonwealths. But Kentucky's one of them. Pennsylvania, Virginia. It's really relevant. Like I said, I'm going to Vermont's the complete opposite. Shout out to Vermont. They're an amazing state. But um, it's really important to understand the differences between the states. And if you hear that term Commonwealth, it's a good indicator you probably don't want to get in trouble there.
Oh,
Because yeah, and it's just you have statehood and then you have Commonwealth, and it's an indicator of how the government runs that I
uh,
don't want to say state because they don't say state, but state of Virginia. So yeah, yeah,
Huh, that's neat. Didn't know that. And
yeah,
so it sounds like flying everywhere, talking to a lot of people, a lot of support in different ways. Takes a lot of energy, Christopher. So
hmm
how do you, like I like to call it, how do you fill your own cup? And I think this is good
hmm
for, anyone who you might work with to hear this as well. Like, what do you do so you can come to the table with the energy that whoever you're meeting will need?
yeah. I'm grounded in my faith. I stay in prayer. Aside from that, I'm good at finding quiet moments when I can to breathe, whether it's sitting in my study and just closing the door for a second with no music on or nothing. And I have to learn that because there's so much that I'm fortunate to do, and I don't really shut off 7 days a week. I got three dogs, and similar to kind of what he touched on, I, God blessed me with the ability to build a home where I don't want to leave here. I got my pool, I got my, whatever, and I don't have to. So it's just I build a peaceful environment around me. So when I do go out into the world, I know I have something to return to, and it makes it easier to go do the work, or it makes it easier to get on the calls, and that's a big part of it. And the other thing is, I don't allow anybody in my space that's going to bring chaos or confusion or noise or um, I'm a no nonsense type of guy. I'm all love and super healed. But anybody that knows me, I'm pretty straightforward, and I make sure that there's peace around me, for me and my loved ones, and I establish boundaries, and I don't say yes to everyone, and my phone doesn't get picked up all the time. So I'm busy, but I know how to make time for me too, throughout the day. Yeah,
That's awesome. That's really
yeah,
great.
I love these conversations because I don't know where you were, but I know where you
mm,
were, if that makes sense. And it's like,
yeah,
and I mean, I struggled more on the outside trying to get mental health and not knowing it was mental health, not knowing it was trauma, not knowing I had ADHD. And you combine all that stuff, and it's like I spent years wanting to top myself, and it's like, and somebody called it suicidal ideology,
ideation, yeah, ideation.
Asian,
and
yeah.
there was a moment I went and took this 3-day self-help class, and they're from the States, and I'm in Canada, right? Or was
Mhm.
for this, and they're trying to upsell me to the next course. How dare
Yeah,
they? But I want to go home and kill myself. So I
yeah,
go out to my bike motorcycle and I go to put my leg over my bike, and I have this moment that it's like, you want to go home and die, and these guys are throwing you a fishing lure to go, come this way, and you're
yeah,
mad at them.
yeah.
It also dawns on me that if my mechanic told me I had to put 5 grand into my motorcycle,
There you go.
I'd
Yeah,
have my credit card out in a heartbeat. And
yeah.
and that was just one moment that like
Hmm.
transformed my life, because I walked back in and I paid for the next course. And on the
Yeah,
next course, I met my
there you
beautiful.
go.
That's where we
There
met.
you go. There you go. Hey, but that shows you, the power of taking the path that you probably need, but you don't want to. It's always like that, man. I got stories where that blessing was on the other side of where I didn't want to go, but I knew I needed to.
And we talk about the
Yeah.
teachers earlier that have some of the teachers I've had, I can't stand, and I still can't stand.
Oh
But
yeah.
no, I know I learned more from them
Yeah.
than
No question.
anybody else.
Yeah, yeah. The respect level's high, but man, as you as a person, I don't know, but I respect you because you got through. Yeah.
Exactly. So we'll start wrapping up. And so, Christopher, where can people get a hold of you, learn more about you, watch your talk show as well, right? And get
Yeah,
your
yeah.
books. Lots of interesting things that you have going on.
Yeah, man. So thank you guys again. I really appreciate the conversation. Also, because me and my wife, we have our live stream, so I appreciate getting up here with couples and all that. But you can find me anywhere. Just look up my name, Christopher Willars, whether you Google it or on social media. My name is my brand. And my work, can be accredited to God. So wherever you find me, it's dependent upon the platform. It may be a little bit different, but all the conversation is geared around educating people in regards to the reality of prison, so people can understand what we face. We're not looking for sympathy on my platform. We just want understanding. And if you need help, like if it's bigger than just watching content or live streams or conversation, you can go to christopherwillers.com, or you can go to the lifeunit, inc.org. So one of the two, either one, they'll lead you to different types of programs revolving around reentry, recovery, interaction, and I'm very easy to get a hold of. People sometimes they get big. I'm not like that. I don't see myself that way. Everybody said I'm supposed to get somebody else to pick the phone up, but if you reach out through these websites, you can set up a meeting with me, whether it's one time or maybe a few more, but there's also support groups that I facilitate myself personally every single week. So if you don't want to connect with somebody on my team and you want to connect directly with me, there's plenty of opportunities through the websites. Yeah.
Amazing. And your books?
Books, same places you can find the books. You can find the merchandise. We've got a lot of stay free shirts and positive messaging stuff. You can find information on any type of events that I have coming up in the community or potentially a community near you. And then also, if there's anybody that wants me to come out and speak, my flights are free. I mean that. They're sponsored. Anytime I do this work, I would love to come out there into your space and just lend my voice, and if not tell a story, just answer some questions that may help some people, whether it's a prison, jail, recovery space, juvenile detention center. I'll stand on the street corner if you tell me where to put my feet. So that's really it. But you can find me anywhere.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thanks,
I'm
Christopher.
really thankful that you guys reached out to us after I reached, like, it came on the podcast. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, man. I'm good. I'm glad. I'm always glad to come. When I got somebody that's been to where I've been, it's just better, because
Yeah,
it's a safer space for the conversation. I can tell the story to anybody, but it's different when you're talking to one of your brothers or sisters or somebody that went through it, or, you know. So I appreciate it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks,
Yeah, man.
Christopher, for your time, and thanks to your wife, and congratulations
Yeah.
again on the
Thank you.
baby.
Boy,
And
Yeah. Thank you.
we wish you well on your mission.
and we'll
Yeah. You guys take care.
And we'll close in our usual way, being that we're in Thailand.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah, Kapun ka. Thank you so much, Chris.
Oh,
All right. Before we sign off, we wanted to share a little after the show conversation that never made it into the episode.
oh, the other thing
It's
that's
beautiful
cool
here, yeah.
happened.
We got our passports, so
They gave me a pardon last year.
I'm working on mine this year. That's what I'm working on. Yeah, I'm working on mine like as we speak. Yep. Yeah,
It's
I'm
good.
excited.
The world opened up a little more.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, and more
Yeah.
respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's self-respect too. I spent like being a Canadian with a record, you can't go to the States, right?
We can't go over there either.
Yeah, no, I know. And I
Yeah.
spent years going, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. And I finally broke
Right.
out and got my waiver. And it's like, you get a little bit more self-esteem by
Yeah.
stuff
When I
like
got my passport, that's how I felt. I was like, and we haven't really been anywhere. We went on a cruise before, she got pregnant and our son was on the way, but just to go on a different country and an island, I was like, this is pretty cool. I said, I'm alive again. But Thailand's on the list, Japan, like we got a few
Oh,
places.
if you come to Thailand, give us a call. I got a backyard that I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and listen to
I
the
already know.
birds, and the pool to swim in.
I already know, man. We're looking at houses out the country right now. We're literally, yeah, that's one of our, before he turns 5, we started looking at houses in Mexico already, and we're doing our research around the world right now.
There's amazing places.
What I
Yeah.
love about it here, though, say you go to the market and you
Yeah.
just go swati crop and with a smile on your face and
Yeah.
they speak Thai. I don't speak much Thai. Just
Yeah.
A smile.
they light right up just because you got a smile on your face.
Everybody's
So-
chill.
Oh yeah. But the people itself
wow.
as a whole are very
Yeah.
spiritual, kind of grounded people. You're getting a taste of that right now with the monks walking across the
Yeah,
US.
yeah. They came through here. They came by, yep, and we seen them. Yep. Yeah, that was powerful just to
Yeah.
like
But
yeah. I almost got my dual citizenship when I was in the military
Oh.
in Minot. I was in Minot Air Force Base and used to go back and forth to small town Brandon. And then I think the biggest city we used to go to every now and then, I want to say it was Winnipeg.
the
think it was-
Manitoba would be Winnipeg.
Yep. So, and that would be like, because we only worked 4 days at a time on base, so we'd have 3 days, and you can go to Canada at the time. We're young, partying. You can drink at 18. So I fell in love with a girl out there back then, young. I thought I was gonna move to Canada and eat French fries from McDonald's with gravy and whatever else.
That's so
Yeah.
good. That's so good. Well, thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Well,
Yeah, appreciate you guys. You have a good
Appreciate
one.
you very much.
Yes.
All right, y'all.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Want to get our books fast and at the best price? Get your electronic copy at https://payhip.com/Lisa Scott Brearley authors. Again, that's https://payhip.com/Lisa Scott Brearley authors.